Milwaukee of U.S. City State, Wisconsin, on Lake Michigan's western shore, was once known for its blueberries and peaceful hometown to visit, and have an occasional beer. Since the birth and former life of future serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, the outlook on Milwaukee would forever be changed. Known for its horrific events that took place there, Jeffrey Dahmer was born May 21, 1960. Growing up with his parents Lionel and Joyce Dahmer and his younger sibling, as a child Dahmer was growing up in an average home and an average life, until at age 4, where he had a surgery for a hernia. His actions and behavior would change drastically. Since that time, he was always fascinated with bones found around the house or in nearby woods, collecting roadkill and carcasses he made possible by his own curiosity. Even though he knew he was intrigued by it, he didn't quite understand why. As the years went by and Jeffrey grew older, his parents continued arguing around the kids. And by the time Jeffrey Dahmer was a teen, his fascination grew. Now a student at Rivera High School, he's always kept to himself, having trouble fitting in. He would stay with his grandmother to avoid conflicts at home. In the spare room where he slept was a mannequin in the closet. The desire for men started, and that curiosity returned to pull apart the limbs of a lifeless dummy. His first murder occurred right after graduation in 1978, the victims of a hitchhiker, Stephen Hicks, when he took home to his parents' house as they were separating, leaving Dahmer alone with his thoughts and his soon-to-be corpse. In 1981, Jeffrey Dahmer joined the army to hopefully leave behind his haunted past. But with his heavy drinking, he was unfit for the military and taken off the force and back home. He was unable to fulfill his needs with alcohol and staying busy at a chocolate factory where he worked. He couldn't seem to keep his mind off the urges, and so he continued his horrific crimes. Scoping out men in local gay bars where he would entice the men to follow him home. Little did they know, the apartment 213 would become their tomb. His lust for company and desire for his demented fantasies, he collected 17 victims over the course of a decade. From 1978 to 1991, he would dismember and eat his collections for 13 years. Filling the apartment with decay, several residents would complain of the horrible smell that came from apartment 213, but he would manage to cover it up every time, blaming it on the broken fridge where the meat would expire and rot. But he left out one detail: the rotting meat wasn't anything store-bought. In 1991, one of the attempts to kill would escape his clutches. Shackled in handcuffs, the cops went to his apartment to retrieve the key. Behind the doors of the once vacant building resided several body parts belonging to men, young boys, mostly African American. Jeffrey Dahmer had to be drunk before proceeding any further. He would drug his victims and drill their skulls while unconscious, or by strangling them to death. To get himself in the mood, as he would say, he would watch The Exorcist 3, or The Return of the Jedi, or even listen to his favorite band, Black Sabbath, even performing necrophilia.
His killing field was Milwaukee, and he got away with murder for more than a decade. But how could any of this happen?
Wanting to control them because I wanted to keep them with me. And as my obsession grew, I was saving body parts such as skulls and skeletons. They were sexual fantasies of control, power, complete dominance. I wish I could say that it just left completely, but no, there are times when I still do have the old compulsions. By injecting first dilute acid solution into their brain or hot water.
That night, one life was saved, and Dahmer was now incarcerated, possibly saving countless lives that would have been taken if not for his capture. After his trial, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison before he'd be eligible for parole. In 2 years confined, Jeffrey Dahmer was beaten to death by a fellow inmate. Jeffrey Dahmer had mentioned to have welcomed death, and not long after, had gotten his wish, and that of many others. He claimed at age 14, during his parents' divorce, the urge that started festering, eventually becoming a horrifying reality. The evil that was Jeffrey Dahmer may be dead, but is never truly gone. The heartache in those of the victims' families and friends will always remain a tragic pain of loss, a horrifying murder that never should have taken place. The fear that he brought to the lives of those around him will never be shaken, and what he did will never be forgotten, or the lives that was stolen.
I kept the mummified head and skull of one of the victims. I was dead set on going with this compulsion. It was the only thing that gave me any satisfaction.
When he told me he was gonna eat my heart at that point.
But that's how strong the compulsion was. That's how bizarre the desire was. I wanted to keep something of the person with me.
15, maybe more. There are some big unanswered questions, though. Just who are the dismembered people killed in this mass murder?
An unsustainable monster that lived in the flesh of a seemingly harmless man, Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee Cannibal.